My father was a lighthouse keeper. My mother was a queen. They were never meant to meet. But their love saved the world. They made me what I am. A son of the land, a king of the seas. I am the protector of the deep. I am Aquaman. My mother was a queen. They were never meant to meet. But their love saved the world. They made me what I am. A son of the land, a king of the seas. I am the protector of the deep. I am Aquaman. My father was a lighthouse keeper. My mother was a queen. They were never meant to meet. But their love saved the world. They made me what I am. A son of the land, a king of the seas. I am the protector of the deep. I am Aquaman. My father was a lighthouse keeper. My mother was a queen. They were never meant to meet. But their love saved the world. They made me what I am. A son of the land, a king of the seas. I am the protector of the deep. I am Aquaman.
Hello YouTube, Chris the Frugal Audiophile here, and today I have the Battle of the Budget Center channel speakers for you. This is a video that I have been anxious to do and have been working on a lot, so I'm excited to get into things today. To begin, I'd like to welcome you to my home theater. You may have seen this before in my home theater tour video. If you haven't, I'll leave a link to that in the card up above. So just click on that and you can watch a tour of this room. But things look a little bit different today. And hopefully you enjoyed the pre-roll clip there. Hopefully it worked out okay. There wasn't a copyright hit or anything. That kind of showed you my process for rating these speakers. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute here. But yes, this is my home theater. Typically I don't have 4 speakers stacked up in a row like this, or in a column like this. Wouldn't make a very good center channel speaker. Down here, this Aperion 5C is my reference speaker, or my normal speaker, but I call it reference because it's such a great speaker, and it was used in this process. So how did I rate these speakers? Well, you may have seen in that clip, I had them stacked like this, and I had my Blu-ray player going. It was running through, down here you probably can't see it, my Denon AVR 3400H with an Emotiva Basics A700 amplifier on top of that. And then I had them connected to a Monoprice speaker selector box, and that was 1 in and 4 out. So I took the center channel output from my center channels on my Emotiva here, running through the Denon, and I connected that to the switch box, and I connected all 4 of these speakers to that switch box. And as you saw in the pre-roll video, hopefully, I switched through each of them and listened for a few minutes as I watched through the movie Aquaman there. It was a lot of work to set all that up. Took a long time, spent several hours figuring that out. The hardest part was making all those cables and putting on the banana plugs. Putting 14 gauge banana plugs into a pin style banana plug connector was not easy. It's a bit of a challenge. And so that's what I did. And then I watched a couple different movies. I watched Aquaman, I watched parts of Live, Die, Repeat, or Edge of Tomorrow, and I watched parts of Ready Player One. I have a couple of playlists that I use to test music for speakers, and so I went through some of that. It's a little bit challenging to test a center channel speaker with music. Basically what I did was I turned off all the channels on my home theater except for the center channel, and then I ran everything in direct mode, and that way I just had one channel working, so everything was just going through the center channel. So you're not going to get, you know, separation or imaging, any of that kind of thing, but you can test for frequency response and clarity, and that's how I ran through both the movies and the music to do this. It was a long process, but we got through it. Oh, and as I said, down here below these, I kind of used my Intimus as a reference. Now, I did not have it connected because I only have 4 speaker outputs, but I know that speaker very well. It's my typical home theater speaker. It's the one that I'm used to hearing in this room. And I do have acoustic treatments. You saw on the tour there. See them back there behind me. And so the room does come into play, but it's not causing unwanted echo. And so I use that kind of as, okay, this is, you know, a good quality speaker, really great for its price point at about $260. And how do these speakers compare to that? And so that's what I did to kind of look at this process and compare each of these speakers. Is it the most scientific process? Well, no. If we're gonna go scientific, I would take one off, put the other one on, run the exact same clip, and listen and go through that and go through one by one each, but I wanted to hear quickly between all 4 of them, and I had the speaker selector set up to do that. Okay, so I want to talk about each of these speakers individually before we get into kind of the comparisons and what I found out in my time with all 4 of them in this study. So to begin with, we're going to go top to bottom here, and the first one we're going to look at is the Dayton C452-AIR, and these names are kind of alphabet soup, and I may stumble through them a little bit. You're just going to be patient with me. And so I'm going to have on the screen for you further specs and all the specs I'm listing plus additional specs as we go through this here. So this one has a dual 4.5 polycone woofers. It has a single 1-inch AMT that is an air motion tweeter. It's not, you know, the most expensive or the largest that you see on some of the more expensive brands, but it is an AMT nonetheless. That one is a sealed enclosure. It has the spring type connector clips, which I hate, but they are there nonetheless. And its frequency rolls off at about 100 hertz. Since it's a sealed speaker with 2 4-inches, it's very narrow. It's gonna roll off pretty quickly there, so you're gonna need a sub. And this one, it is very similar to the Monoprice speaker right before, and it is the cheapest of the bunch. It is $36 plus $8 shipping handling, so $44 for that Dayton C452 speaker. So next one we have is the Monoprice MP-C65RT, and the RT stands for ribbon tweeter. So let's check out some specs on that one. It has dual 4.5 polypropylene cone woofers, and I don't know why some of these say 4.5 and some of them say 4-inch. To me, they look all about the same size. I mean, you're looking at them, you be the judge. And then it has a 4-inch vertical by 3/4 inch horizontal ribbon tweeter. Now this is not an AMT, it's a ribbon, so it's a little bit different. It's a similar technology, but it produces a slightly different kind of sound. We'll talk about that when we get into the comparison. And it is a sealed enclosure again. It has spring clip speaker connectors, very similar to the Monoprice. It is rated down to 70 hertz, although I doubt it gets to that real flatly, but it is rated down to that. Is flatly a word? I don't know. And this one is $62. Now these top 2 up here are very similar, the Dayton and the Monoprice. Well, the Dayton C452. We have another Dayton on the bottom we'll get to, but those 2 are very similar, and that definitely rang true in my findings. So next, let's talk about the Micca MB42XC speaker. This is the oldest one. You can probably see on the cabinet there that it's the most beat up. It's because I've had it the longest. And so that one has dual 4-inch carbon fiber woofers, a little bit different material than the other three. The other three are basically paper, even though they have different words, but they're basically paper with some other chemicals mixed in to stiffen them up, probably some plastics. But these are supposedly carbon fiber. To me, they feel kind of like sandpaper, plastic, and then of course the dust cap is plastic on top of them. And then it has a single 3/4 inch silk dome tweeter. This one now is a ported enclosure. Unlike the first two, this one is ported. And one nice thing about it is that it has 5-way binding posts. I'm a big fan of 5-way binding posts. They're so much easier. You can use regular banana plugs, and the connection is so much better. And they're a higher quality too than the other two. And I estimate that the frequency on this one rolls off at around 65 hertz. And this one has, unlike the other three, matching bookshelf speakers only. The other three, they have matching bookshelves and tower speakers. Actually, the final one that has a transmission array tower speaker that is pretty interesting. I'd love to hear that one. But yeah, the Micca just has matching bookshelf speakers. Micca doesn't tend to use larger than 4-inch drivers in their speakers, nor do they tend to do towers. So that's kind of what you're left with there. So that is the Micca MB42. Oh, and it costs $70. And it is the most probably unique of this bunch. Oh, and it has a magnetic grill, which I think is cool. All of these speakers, they do have a vinyl wrap to them. I think that the Micca looks the nicest, although it's the one that is coming off the most. Again, it's also the oldest, but it's a very inexpensive black vinyl wrap. Nothing fancy here at all with the wrap on these guys. No fake wood, no real wood. They're pretty much MDF with that wrap on them. And finally, we have the Dayton MK442 speaker. This is, I think, the newest one of the bunch, although the Monoprice is fairly new as well, but I'm pretty sure that it is one of the newest speakers that we have in our lineup here today. So this has dual 4-inch paper woofer. It has a single 3/4 inch silk dome tweeter. And this one interesting thing about it, as you can see here, it has inverted dust caps. I don't think any of these have a real phase plug, but it's got the inverted dust cap there for you. It's a ported enclosure. It also has this nice chamfered front baffle here. You can kind of see a little bit of extra design in there. It's supposed to help with cabinet residence. I'm not sure it really does, but that's what they say. This one has 5-way binding post. Again, a vinyl ramp. Its frequency response is rated down to 40 hertz in the graphs that I saw, but then it just starts to fall way off. And I think that holds true in my findings as well. And of course, this one has the matching tower speakers as well as bookshelf speakers if you want to get the whole lineup. This one costs $63. You have to get it on Parts Express, and it's $55 plus $8 shipping and handling. If you can get like free shipping, if you spend enough on Parts Express, I think it's $100, you get free shipping. So if you were to buy the lineup, you would get it for $55, making it the second cheapest in our lineup here. So what was the assignment for these speakers today? And that was to offer good clarity and dynamics at an affordable price. It was not to compete with speakers costing several $100s on up, but was to just offer the best clarity and dynamics in its price category, and that is a sub $80 center. Actually, these are sub $70 centers because the Micca is $69.99, so that would make it $70. So actually, they're $70 and below as far as their price point. I was looking at the $80 price point, and of course, you're probably thinking, well, Chris, there's other $70, $80 center channel speakers around there from companies such as Polk and Theater Solutions and Acoustic Audio as well. I didn't have those in-house. I wasn't looking to purchase a whole lot of speakers in doing this. I had to purchase 2 of these. The other 2 I had on hand. And so these are the 4 that I chose. I think they are the most common in this price category, and those other speakers are a little bit older and not as ubiquitous. So that's why I chose these 4 for our sub $70 price comparison. So how do they compare? First of all, I think that the MK442 looks the best. I like the chamfered edges on the front there. I like the inverted dust caps. All the grills on these are just basic grills. They are pretty much just acoustically transparent fabric on a thin wooden frame, as you would expect from most speakers in this price category. They're nothing that great. But I think the MK442 looks the best. I think that the Monoprice here has the most dynamics with that ribbon tweeter, so I'm going to give props to it for that. Also, the Monoprice with that vertical ribbon tweeter there, I believe it has the best off-axis performance of the bunch here, just because it has a taller stack in the center there with that tweeter. And so when you go a little bit off-axis, you don't get nearly as much lobing as you may with speakers that don't have that functionality in them. I think that the Micca has the best soundstage. It sounds the biggest of the bunch. It actually is the biggest, at least the deepest, and then it's like, I don't know, a centimeter shorter, but it is the deepest. So that makes sense, but it just sounds a little bit bigger. It's not a drastic amount, but it does sound larger than all the other three as far as your soundstage is concerned. And if you note there up top, the top two guys, the Dayton C452 and the Monoprice MP-C65RT, look very similar and they sound very similar. They both have ribbon tweeters. One's just a ribbon, one is an AMT, but it's hard to tell the difference in those two. I would probably give the nudge to the Monoprice for sounding clearer, but they are so similar that you could probably mix and match speakers from both those lines and you wouldn't really be able to tell the difference. Their voicing is very similar. And finally, I would say that the MK442 sounds the clearest. So those are kind of my comparisons of all four of these speakers as I went through my process testing them. So now let's talk about their Frugality grades. And to begin with, I'm going to give these top two right here, the Dayton C452 and AIR, let's not forget AIR, and the Monoprice MP-C65RT. They're both going to get a C. I just wasn't super impressed with the clarity. They sound fine, but not in comparison to the other speakers in this grouping here. And that reminds me, I'm grading on a curve today. This is not in comparison to all speakers in this category. This is not in comparison to speakers that cost, $100 or more. This is in comparison of these four speakers. How did they grade when compared to each other? Okay, so just keep that in mind. I'm not saying that these are a C for all center channel speakers in this price range or that have ever been made, just in comparison of these four. Okay, so they're gonna get a C. Next, the MB42X here, it's gonna get a B. It's the most expensive, but it's still not the best. And I guess that's kind of gonna spoil it for the last one, but that one's gonna get a B. And it has, like I said, the largest soundstage, but doesn't have the best clarity. And that's why I'm gonna give the Dayton MK442 here, the new guy, I'm gonna give it an A. In this comparison, it gets an A. When I compared the sound of this to my reference Intimus center channel speaker, it sounded similar, although this one certainly sounds better. The Intimus, the Aperion, 5C, definitely sounds better, but the Dayton was close. I still prefer the 5C, but the Dayton was close. It kind of had that more natural sounding vocal that I was looking for. When you hear the speech from Aquaman there at the end of the movie, maybe you'll be able to tell that as well, that it sounds the most natural. That's why I'm gonna give it an A. So those are my Frugality grades for all four of these speakers and how they compare to each other. So what is my recommendation? For clarity, go with the MK442. It's actually not the most expensive in the bunch, and I think it sounds and looks the best. That's gonna be my top recommendation. If you can't afford that, if you're on a strict budget, then I would say you could get by with the Dayton C452 AIR, but I think that the MK442, it just ekes it out. I guess maybe I'm partial to the sound of a Silk Dome. I just think they sound more natural, but your preferences may vary. That's just how it works out in my mind, and I'm a big fan of the MK442, and it's my top recommendation. Followed by the next recommendation will probably be the Monoprice with its good off-axis performance. You can check that one out as well. It is also the cheapest. Oh, no, sorry, the Dayton is the cheapest of the bunch. So if you are on a strict budget, get the Dayton. You won't be disappointed. It's the best that you can get for under $50. but I really would recommend saving up a few more dollars and looking at the MK442. Now, if you already have the B652-AIR speakers because they're so popular and you want to add a center channel, then it'd be fine. It would match them well. The C452 would match them just fine, and it would work out great. That's actually what I used in my sister's home theater for several years until she wanted white speakers. And Dayton doesn't really make white speakers, so I had to get rid of those and trade them out, but it worked fine. It was great. Better than what you used to be able to get. So that pretty much concludes this video and my budget center channel speaker. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, please consider subscribing to my channel, and also take a look at my Patreon and buy me a cup of coffee. If you don't want to commit to Patreon, you can just go in and buy me a cup of coffee, and it's just a one-time donation. I would greatly appreciate that. It will help keep these videos coming and more comparisons such as this. Now that I have that 4-channel speaker switcher or selector, I could do that. And so consider buying me a cup of coffee on there. You don't actually buy me a cup of coffee, it's just a donation. And it's real easy to do. I'll leave a link to that down in the description. Do you have these speakers? What do you think of them? Do you agree with my conclusion? Let me know down in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. And remember, frugal doesn't necessarily mean cheap.